Welcome back to WGNC Garage. As you saw in one of my prior videos when I installed the fuel pressure gauge, the fuel line unfortunately stained my hand, which still a few days later, still stained. So I found out whatever that is, it's not fuel line. So I'm gonna be changing it out. I was able to find the equivalent to the Japanese standard, which it's SA30R14T2. So I got 3 feet of that line. I'm going to be replacing the fuel line that I placed here on the fuel filter, and hopefully this older decaying line on the fuel dampener as well. So let's go ahead, start taking these apart. Let's see, this one. Okay, that's oddly difficult. That this one is extremely difficult to loosen right now. Alright, there we go. Now it's starting to come apart easier. Alright, so that's loose. Just gotta make sure I actually get it loose enough to slide it off. Still needs to be loosened more to be able to slide it back. I am going to be replacing them with those new fuel line hoses. So now that this is sliding back, not fully, I might just have to completely disassemble this one. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to need to do for this one. Alright, bolts out. Alright, clamp is completely off, and that's out of the way. I'll probably have to end up cutting this. Yeah, that doesn't want to twist. This one also doesn't want to twist. There we go. This one was able to slide back. Alright, so I got those top 2 clamps off. Now as you can see, this one's pretty long and it puts the sensor up against my box. I will be cutting this shorter to pull this away from it so it kind of just sits by itself here. And I'm also going to try to transfer this protective coating to the new hose. It is larger, so I'm not sure if it will fit. If it doesn't, it is what it is, but if it does, I will be putting it on. Flathead screwdriver. So let's loosen these up as well. So there should be no pressure in the system. I've let it sit again for a few days. I don't want this spraying high pressure fuel out, so I'll go there. And as always, when you do, I'm going to use this little short screwdriver. When we go down to here, which I can fit my hand under the brake, and the rest through here, this is again right next to the starter, so do be careful you do not make contact with the starter. There we go. Alright. Loosening this. Alright, so this one seems to have gotten stuck on the new line. There we go. Alright, so that one's out of the way. This one, same thing. Looks like it got stuck to the line. We'll loosen this a little bit more. Okay, so without backing it out all the way, hopefully, there we go. Okay, so let's back this off. This one, the same thing. Alright, I'll be back once I get all the clamps loose. Alright, so I was able to get all the clamps loose. Now, last time I did this, when I pulled one of the lines, no matter what, it just kept spewing out fuel. So I'm going to release the bottom half first, hopefully cut a section of hose the same size and refit it on very nicely. Then I will do the top half. I'll probably end up shortening this by a little bit, and same thing here, and then replacing this line hopefully with the same length. Being that this side has a barb and this side is a prong, I most likely will have to cut this fuel line off. I kind of tried twisting the bottom of the hose down there and up here, and it doesn't seem to want to twist, so probably gonna have to end up cutting these hose lines again to get them off. So without further ado, let's see if we can get down to this one down here, cut it off, and quickly replace it with the same amount of length. Alright, I think I cut enough on it. Let's see if I can... I don't know why this overall looks bigger even though it's 3/8. But let's see what happens. Yeah, it didn't cut enough through it. Alright. Definitely feels like I punched through it. I can feel the cut mark. Alright. Once I cut through this lower half, I will return momentarily. Alright, so I was able to cut it free, and here we go. So let's bring this up quickly so we don't waste too much fuel. This came off, and line length. Yeah, that bottom is just pouring out fuel. Alright, now I'll slide the new clamps on. Ooh, these fit very snugly. So there's that one. This one will go on the bottom. See if we can get this on quickly. So, ooh, where's the piece? Right here. Let's slide this back down and get this end on this fuel line before it keeps pouring out any more fuel. Alright, there we go. Jesus, that's wow. It's a lot of fuel. Let me Why is this still letting out fuel? Did it not sit? Alright, so I ended up having to get a 1/4" ratchet with a little 7mm to be able to tighten this, but I was able to replace the lower fuel line with the proper fuel line and tighten it down. It did stop leaking, but as you can see, there is quite a puddle of fuel on the ground that I'm going to need to clean up. But for now, I'm going to continue on with the replacement of the fuel lines. For this one, I'm actually going to replace this top one first. Alright, so that one's cut. And it's going to be a little bit difficult, but we should be able to cut this one as well. That should be good enough. Now, this is the fuel dampener, so I'll grab this little piece. There we go. All right. So now that that's there, should be able to, and there we go, that one broke free, and let's make sure this one will come off. Alright, let's grab this one and do this quickly as well. Line 2, where'd I go? Right here. Alright, so we got this cut. Yeah, this old guard isn't going on, so we'll have to replace those. So this clamp. Yeah, this is the size. Alright, there's one clamp. So we'll slide this end onto this barb. Okay, I'm gonna have to adjust this further back a little bit. There we go. Now I'll adjust to right there, and this one right there. Perfect. So the new hose is on this upper half, and as we saw, this upper half actually didn't let out any fuel except for what was just in the line. So a lot easier on this one. And I'm just going to use the 7mm. Alright. So now when tightening this, I don't over tighten. It's kind of snug right there. So I was able to start that one by hand. Should be enough resistance for me to. Yep, there we go. Alright, so now that that one's done, let's see if I can remove this one. Yes, this one will twist off. And from up here, yeah, no, it doesn't want to come off. Alright, so here's my razor blade. Alright, so we're going to cut this off. Use the little screwdriver, pry this. I think it's, yeah, it hasn't cut through the line yet. Alright, feels like it finally went through the line. Yep, sweetness. Alright, so now that we got that free and the bottom one free, I gotta make sure these two also can come undone. Ooh. So this one does not want to come off either. I put the small screwdriver. Alright, so now we should be able to pull this off. And there we go. I'll plug that. It's trying to let out fuel. So that small section will be shortened. And this section also needs to be shortened by actually quite a bit. Alright, so let me pull this off of the fuel filter. Alright, I'm going to keep my finger on this and try to do this one-handed. Don't think I'll succeed, but we'll see what we can do. Let's take this one, place it there momentarily. I can cut this bottom piece off of this barb. Alright, there we go. So now let's get, so we'll place this end on here, and we'll place, ooh, yeah, that's leaking a lot. Alright, that rag's another one that's got to be tossed out. Let's clean up this fuel line, and again, that's just leaking out. Great. Where's, oh yeah, I dropped it. There we go. Try to get this in by hand. I will say, compared to the other one, this does not like sealing very quickly. There we go. There we go, now it's nice and snug. Alright, so now that that stopped leaking, Jesus, let me make sure this stays there. I probably dropped the clamp. There's some clamps. Alright, there we go. Now, I'm probably going to end up cutting it pretty short. Probably around here, because this does have, I just need it to be just like that. So I want it more or less straight there. This will have to be cut around here. All right. So now, right here will begin to. Alright, so I was able to cut it, get this piece slid on. Now I'm tightening it down. So, there we go. There's that. Alright. Now, the final piece. Let's see if I can get this. Here we go. Alright. Over there. Actually, I'm going to place this here. So, now that that's there, right here. Ooh. Alright, so unfortunately, my razor dulled out, so I ended up getting this little knife right here. But I was able to get this set. There we go. Now we can into there. Here we go. Alright, time to tighten this down until it stops leaking. Alright. There we go. All complete. Alright, now that everything's tightened down, I'm going to go grab my keys. These rags I got to be thrown away. And I'm going to turn the key on and make sure nothing leaks when pressure is placed on the system. So, I'll be right back. Alright, so I got my key. Don't see any initial leaks. Let's start it up. Alright, no fuel leaks, so we're good, and the proper fuel line is now in.